And finally, we have arrows. Arrows show the direction of where the user starts, how he goes, and how he reaches a certain point. So for our login user flow, we'll begin with a circle. To select a circle, just come at the bottom here, click on this arrow, choose ellipse, and then draw a circle here. You can zoom in by hitting Control plus or Control minus to zoom out, or you can also pinch the screen on your mouse trackpad. So we'll begin with a start. You can change the color of an element. Let me choose blue. So after start, for our login app, you want someone, when he starts, he'll go to the login page. So login page, after going to the login page, you want him to enter the details. Yeah. To add an element, you can just come and hover about the certain element you currently are in, and click this arrow here. It will create something similar to the previous one, but you can change it another shape. So here you specify enter details. After entering details, we'll assume the details are correct, and we can now take the user to a dashboard. So for the screens, let me use a purple color. And just like that, we have a very simple user flow of logging in into an app. So we'll come back to our Figma file here. Let us rename it. To rename, just click on the untitled text, rename it to login page. To create frames, you can either hit F or come at this symbol here and then choose. There are many types of frames which can choose. There are fonts you can use. You can choose either to have a tablet, a desktop. If in case you're creating a website, most of the times you'll begin with the desktop part here. If it's for a presentation, or let's say you're designing for a watch or a paper, in case it's something to be printed, social media, Figma community, it has a lot. There's a lot you can choose from. So for our app, I'll choose the phone. Let me go with iPhone 13 Pro Max. The goal, the phone we are all hoping to get someday. I'll start inserting shapes just to show you how you can insert shapes. You can choose any shape you want to insert. We'll begin by the rectangle. After clicking it, you just click a point using your mouse and then drag to the desirable size that you want. And then after that, let go. To insert a line, do the same. Start at a certain point, and then you drop it at the desired point. Similar case to arrow. And then for a circle, to get a perfect circle, you can right click on somewhere and then hold shift. you'll get a perfect circle where the width and the height are of equal measurements. Same case to a rectangle. If you want a uniform or a square, if you want a square, just use the rectangle tool and then hold shift while you are drawing it. In the shape, yeah, you can have an image placeholder. So let's assume that is my image that I want to drop. Yeah, you can insert images simply and easily as that. So that is for shapes. I think I can remove them from this frame here. To add text, just click on this T icon here. Choose a point on your frame and start typing. To handle the properties of one element, you'll come to the right side. Here you can access properties such as font. If it's text, you can change the font to, let's say, what you can increase the size. You can change the width, the thickness of the text. You can also change the color. All these are properties of the text that you can change. Yeah, so for the hand tool, this is very useful, especially when you want to move around. It's a very useful tool. So we'll get back to our login app that we're creating. We'll do something simple. Let me just rename this login. I hope we're still together. I've not lost anyone. Are you following? Oh, okay. That's nice. Log into account. We can place it. The red lines that you are seeing here are their guidelines to help you place your items in a better way. Log into account, then you'll create another text. You click there. Then we have name. So let me change the size of this text to 20. And the boldness, and you make it regular. So after that, we'll create a box to show where the input will be taken. There are shortcuts which you can use. These letters which are indicated here. So for a rectangle, you can use letter R, line L, ellipse, you can use O. So I've chosen a rectangle by hitting R, and I'll create a box there. So for box elements, you can also edit them. Let me edit the color that is inside to a lighter gray. And then I'll add a stroke. To add something, you only need to click plus. So we can add the stroke here, give it a width of 2. Yeah. After that, we can copy this text by hitting Control C and pasting it to Control V. Or you could also click on an element, then hit the Alt or Option button in case you are on Mac to create a duplicate of whatever element you have. So for this, I rename it to email. call it email. And then we'll copy the input box, have it as email there. And what next? We can add a password. Let me just add a password. Yeah, you can also group elements in Figma by selecting them and then right-clicking and choosing group selection. Or you could also hit Control and G. So I'll group these elements here, group these ones there, Control G. So if I copy a group, I'll get everything about that group, every element contained in that group. So we want this input box to be for our password. After that, we can create our button. Place it here and write login. Yeah, we could choose to put a box over it. So here we'll talk about layers. On the left side, here are the elements that you have in this file. We have our frame here. We have the rectangle, which is above the text. In case you want to change the order of files, you can just drag an element and place it on top of another. So like the way the login text was below the rectangle, by dragging it above, you'll be able to see it. So here by dragging the login text above the rectangle, you're now able to see it. Yeah, I'll then group these two. Yeah, and just like that, we have our login templates. It's there. It doesn't have much, but I think we can include a few things. Let me just move this below. You can also align elements relatively to each other. So by selecting the elements and then coming to the right side and choosing either tidy up or distribute vertical spacing, these options, they make the spacing between these elements to be uniform. So by doing that, the space between this group and the other group is uniform. To center the elements, you can also use these icons here, align horizontally or align to the left. It takes this element to the left side here. The center, it brings the element to the center of that entire group. That is aligning to the right. You can also choose to align vertically. By doing this, everything will be here in one space. Though for now, we don't want that. So we can move our elements there. If you are moving an element and you want to move in a straight line, you can click on that element and then hold down Shift button. By doing so, it can only go in either horizontally or vertical direction. It can't go sideways. Yeah. So if you want to move horizontally, we want to move in the XY direction, you can move that way. Yeah, so you can use Shift to do that. Yeah, and just like that, we have a wireframe for a login page or login screen for an app. Yes. Any question up to there? I'm guessing there's none.
I have a question. Sorry.
Yeah, you may ask.
I have a question. I think I missed the part where I can see like everything is so friendly.
Oh, I guess there is a. I was saying you can select each element. So we can group this. We can select the groups that we had chosen here. After selecting each element, you come to the right side, the right panel. On the far right, near the top, there is an icon which contains distribution options. You can choose to have an even vertical spacing or even horizontal spacing. So by clicking there, the space between each element becomes uniform. And you can also increase that space either by hovering your mouse here and increasing it through dragging and dropping, or we can input this value here. On the right side still, you can enter a value like 50. So this means that from this group here to this other group here to the other group, the spacing is 50 pixels. Yeah, Figma mainly deals with pixels. So from the name input, email input, password input, the spaces between all these elements are 50 pixels. Yeah, I hope I've answered your question.
Sorry, but thank you. I've learned.
No problem. Yeah, we'll now move on to creating. Let us try to make this wireframe more.
Hello.
Hello.
Someone has a question. Charlene is asking, how do I increase the font?
Okay, so for each and every element, you can click on it. On the right side, there is an properties panel. So for font size, you come to the right side. Below the font type, on the right side, there is a value here. This value, it mainly represents the font size. So let's say we want to change this to something like 64, or we want to input our own value. You can just have 40 there. If you want to change the boldness of the text, we can do so here also. Have it being light or bold or extra bold. Yeah, something like that. For color, we can change the color of the text by clicking on this icon here. A color palette is displayed. You can choose from any range, from the left side, the right side. You can choose any color that you want. Yeah, I hope I've answered the question.
Yes.
Yeah, that's nice. So we can also copy frames or duplicate them. To copy anything, to copy any element on Figma, it's the same as copying a file in Windows or in Mac. You just hit Control-V. So we'll just hit, and here we have another frame. You can rename a frame or an element by double-clicking on it, just as I've done there. So we'll call this high fidelity. But we can also rename any elements through the left side panel. Yeah. Let's say for the first one, something else, when you click on an element in the layers panel, it will be highlighted in Figma. So that way you can know what you've selected, if that's what you want. You got to select this group 4. The login button is highlighted. So in the same way we rename frames, you just double click here. Let us rename this to login. For this frame, we can rename it to low fidelity. Yeah. For the purposes of adding an image, I think we can create a space here. So I select all items. To align items using a uniform space, you can also use this icon here, which comes after selecting your items. It aligns items for you automatically. So after doing that, I hold down Shift button and I drag it down a bit. And then I draw a rectangle here. Rectangles, circles, or any other shapes which have, let's say, space in between them. Let me have the navigation bar. You'll assume it is there. You can create another rectangle here. Rectangle here, I want to insert an image, and it's very easy to do so. After drawing your element or your rectangle, just come to fill and select the color icon. You can choose what type of fill you want to have. You can have a linear gradient. So for a linear gradient, it matches 2 or more colors, and it seems as if they're blending into one. So something like blue, light blue and navy blue, they're a good match. They can blend well. Yeah, that is how you can create a linear gradient. You can also have a radial gradient, which is something that appears like a circle. You can edit its properties. You can change the colors. You can add points to the gradient, thereby adding colors. Just give me a minute. Oh yeah, so sorry about that. To add a point, you just come to directly on the line that appears, and there's a plus icon that you'll be able to see. So after doing that, you can add a new color, something like that. It doesn't look great, but you can always improvise. You can have an angular gradient. This looks like I don't know. It looks interesting. Yeah, and here you can have an image. So we'll just use an image here. Yeah, and just like that, you've drawn a rectangle. After doing that, you've changed it from having a color to having an image. Recently, Figma added a new feature where you can have a video placed. So we can try that and see how it works. So you just click here, choose video. Oh, it seems like it's a paid feature, but anyway, it would have been interesting to try it out. Yeah, for our high fidelity design here, we can try to match the colors that we have in the image to, let me show you how you can use a color picker. By clicking this icon here, you are able to move and choose the color on any element that is visible on the screen. So I'll take this dark green, light greenish color, or I could use this one. And maybe darken it a bit. Yeah, we can remove the gray. To remove a property that is on the, or a design property of an element, you can either hide it through this icon that is here, or you can remove it completely. So by doing so, we have removed the solid color that was inside it. And for the image also, we'll also remove it. Login, we remove that one too. For our button, I think we can give it this green color using the color picker here, or you can also view recent colors at the bottom here. So here, this includes all colors that have been used recently in this file. So we can have green and make the text appear white. So sorry for that. Let's increase the boldness of this text here. Yeah, and we have our navigation bar at the top here, which we can also darken it. Yeah, we have a, let me space the elements again. So select every element. Either use this icon here or go to the right side and distribute vertical spacing. Any question on how to insert images, changing colors, up to the point that we are at? Okay, I'm guessing we are okay. Another cool feature that Figma has, you can perform calculations on it. Let's say for this box here, we want to increase the width by adding something like 23 pixels. We can have the initial value there and add 23. And it does the calculation and does the action for you. It's an interesting feature. I think we are okay with the first part. So I think we can get into the prototyping bits, where we can create live prototypes. So prototyping, in case there's someone who is not aware, it's more of showing in a live way how the design can do. The same way an application works, let's say by clicking a button, certain page, or by doing a certain action like hovering, something else happens. So that is what prototyping involves. It mainly involves in a design, you are able to implement these features. So for example here, we'll create a prototype where we'll move from the low fidelity design to the high fidelity. We'll do something like we'll create a button. We just copy this, Control C, Control V, and drag it down, and rename this to our box. We resize it and then move the group to the center. For an individual element, you can align it relative to the frame by using the same options here on the right side. You can change this color to green to make it different. And then you can have a text at the top here, which you'll assume to be a button saying mark. So prototyping is very easy in Figma. You only need to select the element that you want an action to happen after a user has interacted with it. So you select your elements, move to the right side panel, click on prototype. You'll see a text here, interactions, and then click plus. So what this means is after a user taps the screen, what happens? So you click on that, and then we'll choose navigate. There are many options here. Navigate, what it mainly does, it takes you to another frame or page. We have open overlay. This is mainly when you want to have certain actions happen in the same frame or page that you are in. So for our case, we'll use navigate because we want to move to the higher fidelity page. Yeah, you'll be able to see your frame there. Figma also has a very interesting feature where you can have animations between one frame and another. Smart animate, it will choose an automatic animation on its own, and it will. So after doing that, you can click on this and click play. So our prototype is loading. Sorry, my internet seems to be slow, but I think you get the idea. So it's almost done. You had a question?
No, naturally, it's just that you had gone mute, so I was confirming if you're still on. It's okay.
Oh, okay. As we wait for it to load, I think I can show you about another feature which is very cool, very interesting about Figma. There are very many features. We cannot complete them today. Something else that will save you a lot of time and a lot of energy is this feature called auto layout. It automatically arranges your elements on certain way that you can specify. So I'll create that auto layout. Let me go back to design. To select multiple items, you can hold shift and click on many items at once. It will select everything that you have. Or you can also use drag over every element. So to layout, you can select the elements that you want to have automatically arranged, and then right click. You will see an add auto layout button there. Yeah, and here we have a layout that is set there. So for auto layout, you can arrange items, either you can have them, the properties of the auto layout is on the right side. You can have them at the center, on the x-axis, at the center there. You can choose the spacing between items. So let us use 40. You can have padding if it's something that has a border around it. You can have padding for it. Let's say you have a stroke there. You can have a padding of 10 on the x-axis and 10 on the y-axis. So the good thing about auto layout, if you were to remove an element, let's say we delete that, it will automatically arrange the remaining elements the way they should be. Or if we decide to add an element, the spacing between the elements will be the same, and you can rearrange them by dragging and dropping. Yes, I think our prototype has finished loading. Here, if we click, yeah, something like that happens. If we click back, we need to set back prototype and have it navigate to the previous page. We can use a smart animate. Let me just remove this outline here. Yeah, so here when you click back, move back to previous page, and you see the smart animation here. For this page, it looks like it's rearranging itself. It's a really good feature. Yeah, seed time is how much spent. We have covered quite a good function part of what we wanted to cover. So yeah, thank you. That was my presentation today. Hope you've learned a lot. In case you have a question, you can still ask or a comment. Back to you.
Thank you, Paminas. I think we'll just wait to see if we have a question. Yeah, somebody has a question. Someone is asking, is Figma a tool used in product management?
Yes, yeah. For product design, there are companies which use Figma. So for a digital product that is, let's say an app or a website, for design aspect, it will be handled by Figma or any other application such as Adobe XD and Summit. So yeah, Figma is a product management tool in the design aspect of the digital product.
Okay. Yeah, Maxwell, I hope you answered. And then Ryle is asking, apart from doing normal UI UX design to Figma, can I also do other aspects like Scratch?
Yeah, Figma is very powerful. In fact, I've been using Figma to create posters, logos. There's a lot you can do. If we go back to the choosing a frame section, let's click on this icon here. There's many things you can do here. Social media, posters, you can get everything here. If you want to design something that can be printed, you have the templates or the for each. Let's say we are creating a Twitter header, it creates it the way it is. So you can do a lot with Figma. You can do quite a lot.
Okay, Ryle, I hope you answered. I also have a question. How can you export these designs and share them to, like, let's say, for example, the developers?
Oh yeah, that's a really good question. Sorry, I had forgotten that. For something like this, you can either choose to export it as an image. On the right side panel, if you scroll down, there's an export option here. You can click plus. Here are some options which you can export from. There's a PNG, a JPG file, an SVG, or a PDF. You can also preview it here before you export. Yeah, you can do it that way. Or if your developers or the team you're working with is conversant with Figma, you can click on this share button here and then either send them a link or add their emails. They'll be able to access these elements individually. They'll be able to access the image, download it. If you have icons used, you can access them. If you have other like font properties, or for the CSS aspect that I was talking about, for a web developer, he can come to the inspect tab. He'll even get the CSS code. So it's really easy for developers and designers to collaborate. So a designer can just come and choose properties for the form. Will include this, having display flex, all that padding, everything is on the right side panel. Yeah, so that way developers and designers, they are all catered for in Figma. Hope I've answered your question.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, so I don't think we have any other question. All I can see is comments from Maxwell, who's saying the class has been really interesting. And Rael has requested for another session to cover more on how to mix logo and SVGs.
Yeah, we'll
Okay.
plan for that.
Okay. So thank you, Paminas, for the session. Thank you so much for creating time. I'll just like for you to share the link to the Figma file that, and also to the attendees. Thank you for sticking through for the whole session. I think we'll have another session on the graphic design aspect and also how to hand over your designs to a developer. Yeah, that's it from us, unless any one of you has anything to say. I think we can call it a wrap and have a good night. Please feel free to develop, like to design further on what Paminas has done. And once you have completed it, you can share it on the Discord channel or even just share it online on Twitter or LinkedIn, and then you can get more feedback. Yeah, that's it from us. Thank you. Bye, guys.